Are you a risk taker?
Yes.
Tesla or Chinese EVs?
Chinese EVs.
Do you believe in true financial freedom?
Yes.
Can women have it all?
Yes.
Yes. I'm Olivia Higgins and you're watching Playing with Fire, where we cover what's hot right now in the investment world. Today joining us, we've got Tiffany and Perline. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you for coming. Today we're covering investing for good, the future of ESG in the US market and the mind of young active investors. Now, Tiffany and Perline, how about you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Tiffany Liu. I'm the director of Next Gen Investors Endowment. So we are a non-profit based in Singapore. We offer a number of programs for students globally. We give them real capital to invest, and we bring in professional investors to help them build their network since young. Perline is one of our students.
Yes. So women invest, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually the co-chair of the Next Gen ESG Investing program under Next Gen Investments Endowment. And apart from that, I also run Women Invest, which is an initiative to close the gender investing gap. And I actually started it with my sister. So that's one fun fact.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's an interesting fact. So ESG investing, right? What is the core of it? What is it all about?
As probably most of you already know, that stands for environmental, social, and governance. And these are the three key factors that investors look out for when they are doing ESG investing. So just think about it. There are company A, which is a company that doesn't follow any of the government regulations when it comes to carbon emission, treats their employees really badly, have a corrupted management, versus company B, which follows all the government regulations and guidelines on carbon emission, really prioritize employee well-being, and has a management that has incentives well aligned with their shareholders. Which one would you choose?
Right.
So I think most people, they will choose B. And the reason is simple, because you believe that this company will do better in the long run, not just in terms of like values and ethics, but also financially. So that's essentially what ESG investors are looking out for. They are looking out for the opportunities and the risks that come together with the E, the S, and the G. And then they want to do good, but also do well financially.
Absolutely, and I think that's a unique point about ESG, right? You've got that component where you can maximize your investing strategy, but at the same time do good. Now, Perline, I understand that you're also quite active in this space. So to you, what does taking charge of your investments in the ESG space mean?
I think it's really about putting the additional effort to research into the ESG performance of a company before you invest in it. And I feel that actually increasingly today it's not that difficult to do so, because you have more and more companies who are releasing sustainability reports, or they have a CSR section within their annual reports. And also you have more and more ESG rating and evaluation providers as well, such as MSCI and Sustainalytics. And some people are even writing articles on various companies to try and expose what they've been doing behind the scenes, or to complement certain companies and commend their ESG efforts. So I think really taking charge of ESG is really just taking the additional effort to understand more about the company's ethics and what they're doing in terms of ESG before you invest in them. And of course, if you want to make a better comparison, then you should look at multiple companies within the space that you want to invest in instead of just one, because then you have a more relative performance that gives you a better criteria.
Right. You brought up a good point. I think it goes down to values, right? So Tiffany, you brought it up as well, the opportunities, the strategies, but then what you're really getting at the core is your value system. Tell me about that.
When it comes to ESG investing, it is perhaps like a very rare opportunity for investors to align their values with where their dollars are. So by putting money into companies that you believe in, that are doing things that you believe is better for the world, better for the society, but also generating better financial return. I think it's like a win-win. It's the best of the both worlds that you can get from this value alignment and this better financial outcome.
What about markets? So if you're looking at the US market, what would be the opportunities for the ESG space in this?
The thing about US is that they are a lot more ahead compared to, say, the emerging markets in terms of ESG disclosure.
Right.
Companies that are disclosing more and more about the ESG practices, like CSR, giving investors, especially retail investors, the accessibility to this information and data is very important for you to make better judgment.
What are some examples that Gen Z Group helps your young active investors to look for the opportunities in this space?
So I think here at Next Gen Investors Endowment, what we are trying to do is actually to give the power back to our next generation. I think a lot of times as we grow older, we try too hard to dictate what the next generation should do, but forget that actually it's their future. So what we do here is that we actually give them a real capital to invest. So Next Gen provides our students a total of 200,000 USD to invest in companies that they believe in.
And this is real money, right?
This is real money. Yeah. So they have absolute authority over what they want to invest in, and we just provide them with the resources and professional guidance and mentoring to help them make a better and informed decision. So I think when it comes to the US markets, a lot of our students naturally, when they first started, they will start with the US markets because there are many companies that they know very well.
Harleen, you were part of that program.
Yeah.
What did you think of that component?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing, and to be honest, that was why I joined the program. I think beyond just portfolio management and getting to invest real money, I think what mattered more to me was the guidance. So I think Tiffany, as well as Shinya, which is a co-founder of Next Gen Investments Endowment as well, they were always very willing and open to giving feedback, and they even shared their network with us. We had a lot more mentors who were available to guide us. So I think that was really very precious for me. And for my group, we're actually slightly different. We're actually very interested in China. So actually most other groups, they invested in US first, and we invested in a China stock. So our very first stock was called Daco, and it was basically a company that produces the materials required to build solar panels. Yeah, so I think you can see where our ESG interest lies, right, which is in renewable energy. Getting the chance to put real money, I think that really intimidated us at the start. So actually we held a lot of cash at the start and we didn't dare to invest. But I think once we got over that barrier, I realized that our investing journey kind of like just leapfrogged, because you realize that now you have to really put in proper research. It's real money in play, and you can't just, I'll just pick whatever I would like to do for a stock pitch because it's just a competition. But now it's real money, and you actually are the one making the decision. So I really love the freedom given to us as well. That's why I couldn't stop smiling when she said that.
In terms of investing habits and the sort of direction that we're going with, even like trading apps like moomoo, is that something that they're interested in? This idea of freedom and autonomy over their own investments?
I think Pauline can answer that because she's the Gen Z.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think autonomy is one thing, because if you don't have the autonomy to invest, then it doesn't really feel like you're managing the portfolio. But it's more of a way, as Tiffany mentioned, for me to put money in causes that I care about. And actually long before ESG investing became a thing and it's a buzzword where everybody talks about it, right? I think there were already a lot of people who were doing faith-based investments. For instance, they choose to basically invest in companies that they like, or they choose to divest away from military companies during war times, and even religion as well, such as Islamic finance, where they tend to divest away from harmful industries such as tobacco. So I think for me, while I'm not very religious, I'm actually more of a free thinker. I think that concept really stood out to me, which is why I picked the Next Gen ESG Investing program to join. And that's something that me and my entire group were all very passionate about as well. So we always would actually research about ESG before we choose to buy any of the stocks.
Really, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 20, turning 21.
You're turning 21?
Yes, it's a huge milestone.
Wow, you really went through that analysis and you have that really solid thinking about investments, and you would say Gen Z has helped a lot with that, yeah?
It was life-changing actually.
And do you use trading platforms?
Yes, I do. I actually jumped around quite a few. So I started out using FSM1, then I shifted to Tiger, and then of course now using moomoo under our portfolio management with Gen Z. Yeah, and I think definitely trading platforms itself really made investing a lot more accessible as well. Because when I speak to my parents about investing, they're like, oh, you know, now they have all these platforms. We never had that in the past. I think in the past, the barriers to investing were a lot higher. So definitely, I think trading platforms now just completely changed the ball game.
Absolutely. Now, that brings me to my next point, self-sufficiency in this personal finance world, right? So in terms of ESG investing, how is that part of the trend of being self-sufficient in this space?
I think when we talk about self-sufficiency, it's not just about, having enough money, eating well. We should take it another level up, which, like, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think that's the ultimate self-sufficiency that we want to reach.
Yes.
And I think that's where ESG investing actually helps you, because it's about that alignment of values, putting your money in causes that you believe in, and still generating that financial return. So all this coming together, I think it brings us ever so close to self-sufficiency than we were ever before.
Right.
So just to add on to what Tiffany shared, right? I think profits is one thing, faith and ethics investing is one thing. I feel that once you have the knowledge, like, okay, how does the business model work? How does the value chain work? Who are the suppliers? Who are the customers? Suddenly you have a much bigger picture when you're doing your work and when you're trying to understand how the different departments work together. So I think for me, that would be the true essence of self-sufficiency in the future, because knowledge is power. So that's basically what would be the most helpful for you in generating more wealth in the future as well.
That is my life tagline too, knowledge is power. I absolutely agree.
And I actually would like to add to that. I think at Gen Z or on moomoo, there's another thing that we believe in, which is that no one monopolizes knowledge. It's a community that we are trying to build at Gen Z and moomoo, where people share ideas, share about how you think about different investing, and then you improve as a community.
Healthy debates as well. What can I not see? And tell me about it, and let's discuss. I love that. It's the sort of dinner conversations that I always like to have. Going back to ESG investing, right? ESG, I know based on my research, there's a lot of discussion about ESG investing versus impact investing. Perhaps we could touch a bit on that.
So I think the biggest difference is what you are looking for as an outcome. So for ESG investing, I think what a lot of people misunderstood is that they are just investing for a good cause. But that is not the case. For every ESG investors, ultimately they are examining the E, the S, and G, and what kind of material financial effect they have on the company, so that they can better predict the long-term earnings power of the companies and generate better financial return. And this is very important for ESG investors. For impact investors, they are looking to measure the impact that they created. So financial outcome is secondary to the impact. So we are talking about, say, giving money to a startup in emerging market that promotes, say, women education. It's great, but it's a higher risk, and that could be a not so great investment return, but they will still do it if they see that the impact justifies it.
So in terms of returns, which form of investing would care more of that?
Definitely ESG investing.
Right. But then you get to have the marriage of both, right?
You do.
You get to have the returns and also do good in this space.
Correct. That's right. So I think when we talk about ESG investing doing good, driving companies to a certain direction, so encouraging companies who are already doing the good things, for example, reducing carbon emission, encouraging gender, ethnic diversity in the company, have better governance. But for impact investing, they will start without having all these data points. They are really looking at an earlier stage kind of investing, and then create that kind of big social impact that they are looking to drive for. So it's different. It's not that impact investing is impossible for you to make money, but again, the financial return is secondary compared to the impact.
Great distinction brought out for the audience. Now, Pauline, in terms of examples that you could give me, is there anything from your personal experience, any causes that you support and want to expand on in this ESG space?
Just now I mentioned also my group were particularly interested in renewable energy. So I think that's one area that I'm quite passionate about.
What are your plans going forward?
investments wise, I think we're trying to look at more companies that we could perhaps invest in to try and propel renewable energy forward. And I think one thing we realized while doing our research that we're kind of conflicted about is we realized that because we're in a transition phase right now, right, and we tend to look at oil and gas companies and mining companies, and we kind of feel that they're really environmentally friendly, and we don't really want to invest in them. But at the same time, you kind of need natural resources, you need mining companies as well in order to build new renewable energy systems, such as solar panels. So I think that's something that we're a bit conflicted about, so we might consider looking into maybe best-in-class investments for mining companies. But I think something that is more straightforward, of course, would be more of like what we invested in, a solar panel materials company, or maybe looking into electric vehicles as well in the long run. Yeah, so I think that's for investments. In terms of my own personal life, I think for me, I'm definitely trying to be more green as well, and I'm also looking towards working in companies that have a stronger ESG policy. I think that's why you would want to have a good ESG policy, because you can retain talent and attract better employees as well. Yeah,
100%. So Tiffany, for green bonds, ESG, ETFs, with the moomoo platform, that is a great product that we offer as well. What do you have to say about that if you go into building a solid portfolio?
Products like these are actually really good for retail investors, because you get to access a pool of great companies that already disclose the ESG data and then has been filtered and then put into an ETF for you to invest in, rather than spending the time to look at every single one of them, trying to gather the data, compare them, assess them. It's an easier option for you to have that accessibility to ESG investing. And I personally feel that this is probably the best way for a lot of retail investors to start.
I want to play a quick game with you. Okay? You're going to have to answer in less than a second together. Are you ready?